Hiya, Simon.
How are you doing? Okay?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. Welcome to Wood.
Yeah. Welcome to United We Stream.
Thank you very much.
So I know just a couple of things. I've got a couple of questions to ask you during the entire cooking process, but just a couple to start off with. How has the lockdown been affecting Wood Restaurant?
Well, obviously we started off with a little bit of ambiguity about why we were closing and security and all that kind of thing, which is obviously long past now. We know the furlough law and that's where we are, and it's essentially the right thing to do. You've got to protect your staff and everyone else in the general public as well. So that's done. It is affecting us. We're a good team here. We we're a family, and when you lose a bit of that, it's quite difficult, albeit essential. So we keep in touch via different methods, and I'm back in the kitchen today, which is good. So yeah, it's affecting us certainly. We've still got lots of fixed overheads that we need to cover and things like that. So it's challenging times, as it is for everybody.
I know it's an issue trying to keep people occupied. That's the one main issue during the whole lockdown, because everyone's just cooped up.
Yeah.
I hear you've been putting some things in place to keep you occupied and the entire restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, well, first of all, when you're in the kitchen for 15 hours a day, to suddenly go from that to nothing, it's a massive change. For me personally, for the first couple of days, it was very challenging. So I thought, right, okay, what can we do? It became apparent that takeaways weren't operating in, fast food outlets, things that people enjoy and go to. So I thought, well, let's start to practice their dishes, if you like, and we'll make some comfort food for the people that can't get to what they want. It's entertaining, it's interesting for people, and it's I've got a skill set that I can use, and that making things like KFC and KFC gravy, Big Mac sauce, all kinds of different things, as well as other dishes I might have. But it's my way of giving a little bit back to the public and community, people that they might not think they can make a mac sauce at home. It's just something simple, something fun, light-hearted, ingredients that most people have in the house, so they don't have to go out to the shops. It occupied me and it occupied them, hopefully.
Well, so you're bringing food to the people at home. How about when lockdown has been relaxed a little bit more and people are allowed to come into public spaces? How are you going to get people to come and stay in?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, everyone. I think if you look on the internet, certainly at the minute, everyone's suddenly become a chef. I've never seen so many chefs in my entire life. Everyone's cooking or doing something, but that will pass. The boredom will pass. Cooking's now become a part of people's day. To do that, and enjoy a glass of wine, some music, and cook for a couple of hours is what people have been enjoying and using it as an escapism and relaxing. And there's nothing else for them to do, so it's essential. They can't order takeaway or go out, but that will soon get tiresome, I think, with people cooking and washing up every day. What will happen is they'll want to come out. Now, under what measures, we don't know. There's talk about social distancing and things like that, but there are some elements of restaurant service where that's just, you can't pour wine from 2 meters away. There's all kinds of things that we need to think about, and I'm sure there's ways around it, but no one quite knows what they are yet. There's talk of reduced capacity. We're quite fortunate here at Wood. It's quite a large surface area. One thing that I want is my tables to be. I don't want to be listening to the conversation next to me when I'm eating and all squashed in to maximise covers. I want a relaxed dining experience. So, there's no tables here that are 2 meters, together anyway, roughly. So, we'll see what they say, and we'll work with what we've got, which is something that I've been saying quite a lot over the past 6 weeks.
Obviously, you being born in Manchester, how do you think Manchester itself is uniquely dealing with this entire?
Do you know what? I've said this time and time again. This is the best city in the country. It's the friendliest, it's the happiest, it's got great food, it's got great culture. If it's happened and it's been good, it's come from here most of the time. And that spirit is around the community. If you talk to anyone in the industry of hospitality and then media and things like that, everyone's pulling together. There's a real camaraderie and a community spirit. If I want to push my delivery service, I've asked all the people that come to the restaurant and enjoy a glass of wine and a complimentary fizz on arrival, talk about it for me. Let's get people interested. Tell them the story about it. And they've all done that without batting an eyelid, with nothing in it for themselves, just to help help the restaurant out. So, you know, there's a real community spirit, and that's the same as what I was trying to do with the recipes that we've been putting out and sharing some of the favourite dishes from Wood and how to cook them. So people can have, you know, it's distraction therapy, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic, the community around Manchester is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, second to none.
Anyway, enough about, this is an interview, this is a cooking lesson, this is showing you how to
do what we're here to do.
Yeah, so can you just quickly give us a run through of what you're cooking today while we show everybody else what you're cooking?
Yeah, absolutely. So when all this first came about, everybody started panic buying pasta for some reason. I have no idea why, but that's what happened. So I'm going to make some fresh pasta. You could also make this with dried if you want, because I know you might not be able to make fresh pasta at home, but it's very simple, nothing to be scared of. It takes that extra bit of time as well. So if you're using this as distraction and relaxation at home to pass the time, put some music on, a glass of wine, make your own pasta, make your own sauce, let it sit and bubble away. You know, put some love into the food, which is, what, in my opinion, what food's all about. Yes, you do it because you love it. So I'm going to make an arrabbiata pasta sauce, some fresh pasta. I believe we're going to talk about steak, so I've got this bad boy out to look at because that's my dinner later tonight. And then just to throw in something else for good measure, I'm going to make the citrus tutti frutti, which is on the menu here at Wood. In one way or another, it's been a firm staple. It's very simple. It's the dish that I made in the Masterchef final. One of the reasons I made it in the Masterchef final is because it's quick. As you'll see tonight, it's very quick to do. The garnish and everything that comes with it isn't, but the actual base of the dessert is. So that'll be something to keep you entertained. Certainly something you can do with the kids at home. So, you know, that's everything. We've got, you know, pasta. We're talking about steak. We've got dessert. All we need is a glass of wine, but I think we better cook it first. So, right, I'm going to go in. Now, a couple of things. When you make fresh pasta, you've got to let it rest. So that's going to be our first job. I've peeled my shallots ready, and the garlic, whenever I use garlic, especially in pasta sauce, I don't like to slice it, I like to grate it, because you get a much better flavour for me. Also, you will get that little bit just stuck on the back of the grater, so when you pop your parmesan on at the end of it, you're just emphasising that garlicky flavour through the cheese. So I'm just going to come over here to our raw bucket, take the lid off, and I've got 100 grams of, nearly, 00 flour. And in here, I've got 1 whole egg and 2 yolks. Now this might differ because obviously eggs come in different shapes and sizes, so we might have to adapt that to eye. We'll go in with some salt, tiny, just a little drop of oil, pop the lid on, and just pulse it into a fine crumb. Add a touch more flour. Here we go. Just 2 seconds. A lot of fresh pasta work you have to do, you know, by eye. You can have a generic recipe, but there's all kinds of different influences which will change it. Just scrape that from the side of the bowl. It's really therapeutic, enjoyable to do. I make pasta with my little girl. You know, it's very simple, very straightforward. At the end of the day, it's peasant food, isn't it? So it's got to be quick. A few ingredients. Okay, there you go. So we've got that there now. Got our dough. Just got little bits on the bottom. Pop that there out of the way, and just a slight little dusting. Now this is the key bit. What you've got to do now is leave that alone. It's as simple as that. So we'll wrap it in some cling film, and then we'll pop it in the fridge. Nice and simple. And that can just go and live in my fridge. We'll let it rest for around 15 minutes maybe, which will give us enough time to start on the sauce. So I'll go in with shallots first. Get some heat into this pan. and then just finely diced shallots. There we go. Save the end bit, you can pop that into some soup. And just chop our way through these. If you can't get shallots, you could use a white onion. Use a red onion if that's all you've got. I think one of the key things, as I touched on earlier, is you've got to adapt your recipes at the minute. Don't be like travelling unnecessary to go to the shop to buy shallots because I've said it in this. You've got an onion, use an onion. You've just got to work with what you've got. It's important. It's about staying at home, cooking and fending for yourself. So you need to adapt. My arrabbiata sauce, it's actually the sauce that I made on my first day in the Masterchef kitchen. Something that is a classic staple for me, one that I've always used. A nice little bit of chilli, so our pan's hot there. Just go in with a shallot. Cooking away nicely. Pinch of salt. Some pepper. Go in with our chilies. Now, first of all, now it depends how spicy you want this. I don't mind it with quite a bit of heat, so I'll leave one chili whole, but for those of you at home that don't like it, quick way to get the seeds out, cut it in half long ways, teaspoon, and away you go. Obviously, we're now at the point of no return, so this is where you wash your hands regularly, as we all know, but you be careful when you go to the loo and such, because chilies have a habit of biting you back sometimes. It's nice to be careful. And then I'll keep the seeds in this one. I like it quite spicy. Shallots coming along nicely. Next up we'll grate our garlic, which then if you could smell at home, you'll get that real feel of an Italian kitchen when the garlic hits the olive oil. Something that sings food, doesn't it? So we'll grate that down now. Put that in there. Don't go too far, you want your fingers where they are at the end of it. Again, it's a real classic sauce this. It's very simple to make, lasts in the freezer in freezer bags for up to 3 months, lasts in the fridge for 3 days easily. It's actually better on day 2, I find. So there we go, we've got our garlic. You can see that, there we go, that can go straight into the pan. Touch more oil. It's a good olive oil, it's quite peppery. Take down the bits of garlic and we'll go in with our chilli. Just let them sweat down naturally now. On the lowest heat that you've got before we start to halve our cherry tomatoes. You can use tin tomatoes. I've got these in the fridge, so I'm using them up basically. They're going to go out of date. I'll pass the best, and that's probably when you're making a tomato sauce. You want your tomatoes, you want them to be just at that turning point, so they're quite a bit soggy. You don't want any fur on them, but you want them quite soggy. It's when the sugars are there and they're at the sweetest. I'm just going to half these. If you haven't got cherry tomatoes, like I say, go in with some chopped plum tomatoes, or you can use any other kind of tomato. It's about making a base for your sauce. I'm going to season these on the board just for a little while our other ingredients. I think it's important when you're cooking that you do take your time, you take every opportunity to build a layer of flavour. So you'll have seen me go in with the shallots and sweat them down. What that does, it releases the natural sugars and intensifies that onion flavour. Then we'll go in with the garlic and take that opportunity to take some time and sweat everything down and amalgamate the flavours. Then in with the chilli, which we're going to all cook slowly now. I'll season the tomatoes on the board here. Quite a bit of salt. pepper. Just leave them to sit there for a minute. Let's have a little check of our pasta. It won't be ready yet, but what you want is that bounce back ability there. You know, you press it and it'll pop back up. In the meantime, what we can do, this is sweating down nicely. We'll start to work our dessert now. As I touched on earlier, the reason that I did this dessert is because it's quick. It takes 5 minutes. You literally cream in a pan, sugar, and bring it to the boil. The sole reason I chose this dessert in the Masterchef final is because of the speed that it takes to cook. And I thought, well, to be honest, if I'm in the shit, I've got a dessert made and then 2 hours, 50 minutes to cook 2 other plates of food. As it happens, I wasn't, and there's a lot more work that went into that dish in the final, but my base flow thinking was I'll have something to put on a plate. So, go in with our tomatoes, give our border white. So what that does now, the liquid in there starts to enhance the flavour, breaks the tomatoes down, it starts to evaporate, and gently stew the onions then. I'm going to go in with a little oregano. Now, if you haven't got fresh, it's difficult to get, use dried, there's no harm in that. I'm quite a fan of dried oregano, it's something that I have handy. I've no objection to it. I don't use a lot of dried herbs, but you know, I don't mind a bit of dried oregano. It's a quick, easy flavour burst in a pasta sauce, or a chilli maybe. So I'm just going to strip the leaves off this, get rid of the woody stalks. Just roughly chop it. There. We'll put that in after, towards the end of cooking, for the last 5 minutes. Our cream's brought to the boil. At that point, we'll go in with our lemon juice. Give that a stir. And then we've got a pot. All we do is simply pour this into the pot, or whatever bowl you're using, pop that to one side, and then pop it in the fridge to set. Put this in a different drawer to the pasta, there we go. That'll set nicely later on. I've got another one in the back I prepared earlier. It takes about 90 minutes to set that maybe, if you haven't got a blast chiller. So, our tomatoes ready. Go in with a teaspoon and a bit of smoked paprika. And what we're going to do now is just cook that spice out again, taking the opportunity to make a little bit more flavour. We've got some passata. If you haven't got passata, you can blitz up tomato puree. With a tin of tomatoes, you make essentially the same thing. You use tomato juice and reduce it down. It's an everyday store-cupboard ingredient, really. Something that lives in the cupboard and doesn't go off for a long time. So it's definitely worth having. Wish you could smell it. It smells fantastic. It's really good. While we're waiting for that, just dust our pasta machine and our surface. This is the bit that the kids really enjoy, and the adults too. So we've got our spice cooked out. You can see a little filling there. Next up, we'll go in with our tomato sauce. Now, tomato is one of them things that needs a good whack of salt and pepper. It should be enough for now. So we'll cut that out and check that. Let's check the seasoning again towards the end. Should be more than enough in there. I'm going to top my dish with this parmesan, which is a vegetarian one. So we've got a veggie dish, but I'm having steak for dinner anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me.
this be a good opportunity to ask a couple
Yeah,
more questions?
let's go for it. Yeah, we're waiting for our pasta to rest. So.
We've got some general questions, just some interesting ones. Like, what do you think the most essential ingredient in the kitchen is?
Can I have two?
Go ahead.
Seasoning. So that's salt and pepper and butter. So technically I pinched three, but I'm going to say those things are something that I can't cook without. Certainly, butter features heavily throughout all my dishes usually.
And then you've obviously mentioned the steak over there. What is the best way to cook a steak?
Well, here at Wood, we use our Josper. I always think barbecuing a steak is the best way to do it. If you haven't got a barbecue, then you want a really hot griddle pan. Get the windows open, the doors, cover the smoke alarm, shut the door, or whatever you need to do to be safe. But it's going to go off probably. Oil your steak at room temperature. This I will leave to sit on my side at home for a good hour before I start to cook it. I want it nice and relaxed and at the right temperature. No point in taking something from a cold pan and from a cold fridge and whacking it into a scorching hot pan. So I'd oil my steak. One thing I would do, like this one, this is what we're going to be delivering. Slightly shorter bone than usual, but that's because it won't fit in the pan at home. I'd oil this bone and wrap it in a little foil. I'd then oil the entire steak and go on with salt. I wouldn't go on with pepper yet. I'd do that towards the end. Get your griddle pan nice and hot, and then in with your steak. This is like 1.2 kilos, so that's going to take around 35 minutes to cook. Get bar marks on, wait 10 minutes, turn it, bar marks, flip it, turn it. And the most important thing is you've got to let it rest. If this takes 35 minutes to cook, or whatever that may be, you absolutely have got to leave it to sit there afterwards for 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere near it. Don't start poking things in it. Don't start cutting a bit off the end because you can't wait. Season with pepper, salt, and leave it to rest. Because if you don't, you want that muscle to relax and be nice and tender and succulent and melt in the mouth. And if you start eating it straight away from cooking, it won't be that, because it's been in a hot pan, it's tight, and it needs to just chill out and have a little glass of wine, do whatever you need to do.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, my mouth's already salivating just talking about it. Just two more. What would you recommend? What would be a top tip for people who haven't experienced fine dining before? What would be your top tip for those kind of people?
Oh, easily my top tip would be to come to Wood restaurants. And I genuinely mean that, because there's nothing worse than going out to dinner and being made to feel inferior by your food. Do I drink it? Do I eat it? What is it? I don't know how it will work. My ethos certainly around food, I like to stick to classic flavours, so with playful authenticity. That's my brief. So you can come into the restaurant and you'll see cheese and tomato, or you'll see ham, egg and chips, and it'll be done in a slightly different way. All the flavours you will understand, but you will not be able to do it at home, I think is the best way to say it. So you are going out for a treat, but it's unintimidating. It's food you can relate to, but food you can't cook.
I like that. Yeah, that's amazing. And then the last one, just as I'll let you get back to cooking, and I know this is a bit of a, you were winner of Masterchef.
That's right.
But before that, you were a data scientist.
That's right, yeah.
What was the journey from data scientist to Masterchef winner?
Joe, it was massive. I always wanted to be a chef. My life took me in several different directions before I was lucky enough to win Masterchef. It's a big transition. It takes a lot of time to be given credibility within the industry. Even now, you've got to fight for that. And every time I step foot into the kitchen, I'm proving my value and my experience. And I won Manchester's leading chef last year, so I think that box ticked. And we've got a Michelin recommendation. It's not the box that I want ticked, but it's certainly part of it. So the journey is a long one, and it's hard work, and I don't think that will ever stop. And I don't want it to. I've noticed that certainly through not being in the kitchen this past 4 weeks, only at home. I miss it terribly. How I went so long without doing it in the first place is actually beyond me. to summarise.
I will let you get back to your. I'll let you get back to your cooking then.
Cool.
If you want to just chip in with anything else, that'd
Yeah.
be perfect.
One thing I haven't mentioned is that the garlic that I've used, it might be looking at it and thinking, what colour is it? I've used a smoked garlic. Now, if you haven't got that at home, you don't need to just use a regular garlic. If you haven't got fresh garlic, use the garlic, the lazy one in a paste. Work with what you've got. Chilies you can get in the little jars as well. If that's what you needed to do at home to get the dish done, it'll work just as well. My sauce is reducing now, so I'm just quickly going to check my seasoning and my temperature. Got a nice little heat, needs a bit more salt. And then obviously we'll season our pasta water as well. Here we go. No pepper in there, no olive oil, just dead simple salt and water. So let's think where we're up to. Got our dessert garnish. We talked about our steak, my dinner. Dessert is in the fridge, set in. Pasta sauce is on. Let's check the pasta. Here we go. Yeah, that's cool. A little longer wouldn't do any harm, but this is fine. So I'm just gonna shake that and then go into our pasta machine. A lot of people at home might be saying, I haven't got a pasta machine, what's the point? You're in a restaurant, you've got all the equipment. Use a rolling pin if you've got one. If you haven't got a rolling pin, I bet you've got a wine bottle. Use a wine bottle. There's always a way, and all you've got to do is just keep rolling this pasta out. It's great. I mean, if you haven't got a pasta machine, it actually takes a little more time, but that's something that we've all got on our hands, I guess, at the minute, so there's no harm in that. Just keep working the pasta. Take it down a notch. Something that I always find really enjoyable. Wasn't enjoyable the first day in the Masterchef kitchen. It's funny because I made tortellini and stuffed it with chicken and chorizo and served it with this sauce. It's probably a dish I don't think I've cooked it since then. But when I was rolling the pasta out, Greg, my friend Greg, came over and without thinking, I'd rolled about 3 meters of pasta out. So he came over and said, "Who are you making pasta for? Italy?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, I actually need about 12 inches," and I had piles of it all over the place. So it's just funny to show the pressures that you face when you're in that kitchen, and just the thought process that a normal thought process tells you that you don't need that, but you just forget in the face of cameras and all kinds of different things. Just get that sauce to stir there. A bit more flour, here we go. There we go. So there we have it, nice thin pasta. I'm going to make this into some tagliatelle. Make sure we've got plenty of pasta there. Turn it over. You can see a bit quite rough with it, you don't need to babysit it. Such. There we have it. Again, just remember, it's a rustic dish. There's nothing. You can make it look absolutely spectacular, but you're making dinner at home. It's about relaxing and enjoying it. Having dinner with your family. Just stir my sauce. It's fantastic. We'll go in with the rest of our oregano. Before we start to pull the dish together. I reckon another 5-6 minutes on the sauce. What I'll do now is just, that's simple, roll this pasta up. Slice through it so that we end up with some nice pasta ribbons. quite dry under these lights, so just pop that on, stop it sticking together. Do the same with this one. Probably won't need to cook all this, to be honest, but if you wanted to, you're so bored at home, let's face it, we've got the time, you could roll this out like this, get a washing line up in your living room and hang it all over. It'll dry out quite nicely. Perfect. Little ribbon of pasta. And you could dry that and then save it for another day. Once you've made the dough, if you want to roll it into a ball, you can then just wrap it in cling film, leave it in the fridge. It's good for a couple of days easily. We've got our pasta. There you go, that's that done. It's good if you've got someone at home to clean up after you finish this as well. So interesting concept. If you haven't got fresh pasta, you can obviously use the dried stuff. You don't have to use tagliatelle, you could use penne, farfalle, whatever it might be. This will cook in less than a minute, 90 seconds. This will take probably 8 minutes. Don't cook it for 12 like it says on the packet, because it'll just be ruined. Let's check our sauce. Perfect, sauce is reducing nicely. Turn our pasta water up, bring that to the boil. Check our seasoning. Just going to run quickly in the back and grab dessert, okay? So, like all good telly chefs, here's one that I prepared earlier. This is the base to the dessert. When our water's coming up to the boil and our sauce is going, I'm going to quickly plate this up because it'll sit quite nicely and wait for us. Just clean my hands off. So I've made a gel out of grapefruit juice. We've got a little vanilla twirl, got some passion fruit meringues, and we've got some thyme. I wouldn't ordinarily use thyme, but the flavour will work. Lemon thyme is quite nice. And I'm working with what I've got. So we'll just take our little biscuits. Put them in. Oops. Go. Put our gel in. It's quick and easy to do at home. You don't have to garnish it like this. You can use your own invention and do whatever you like, maybe. Maybe a little meringue. There we go. That's sauce.
What was it like making this dessert on Masterchef?
To be honest, dessert was probably the easiest part of the menu. That last 3 hours in the Masterchef kitchen lasts in your head probably about 5 minutes. It's very frantic. You spend a lot of time chasing your own tail. But it's, for me, I was one of those people that, and I'm sure there's people watching now that, you know, at home, you sit and you watch, whether it be X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, Masterchef, any of those things, and you comment on it, you talk about it, you say, why is he doing that, why are they doing that? I was that person. So I decided to put my money where my mouth is and go for it, and I ended up, for the first time of applying, I'd watched it for 11 years. The first time of applying, you know, I got accepted and got on there, and I won it, so I was very, very fortunate. It's something that I really enjoyed. It changed my life, you know, massively. I've got 3 restaurants now. I've got the hotel in Chester, we've got Woodcraft down in Cheltenham, you know, and Wood Manchester here on First Street. So it's a great big journey, something that's a challenge, life-changing, character changing as well. It certainly does change the way that you look at things and what belief you have in yourself, I think, is the first thing. Okay, so our pasta water is boiling nicely. We've got our pasta. Cheese is ready. A little touch of oregano to garnish. Dessert's finished. That can sit in the fridge now like that. It's fine. I'll leave it out so that we can eat it. Got a little bit of our time there. May as well cook the pasta. That can go straight in there. Pop that to one side. Just let that come back up to the boil. We need a bowl.
So what's the advantage of making pasta from scratch?
We haven't got anything else to do. I would say first and foremost. But no, it's a good skill. You know, this is a simple cook, but you can start to learn folds and methods, tortellini, ravioli, angolotti, things like that. It's therapeutic. It's enjoyable. You know, you can always have flour and eggs in the house, and you might not have dried pasta. It's just something that I really enjoy to do. It's food that it's cooked with love, isn't it? That's what it is. You know, you've got music on, glass of wine, sat on the sofa watching, TV or whatever, and it's just something that I really enjoy. So I'll just go in with a little touch of oil into that pan, and then we'll take a little bit of our sauce. There we go. Reducing that down a little bit because it's still a bit loose. So ordinarily this sauce at home I'd cook for maybe 2.5 hours on the lowest temperature and just let it tick and reduce and sweeten. That's why it's important that you check the flavour at the end. Our pasta's ready. Take a little bit of the water there. Here we go. Some tongs. There we go. Take our sauce. Definitely one of your 5 a day. But it's got a nice little spice to it, this sauce. It's one thing that I enjoy about it as well. We'll just take some of the tiny oregano leaves that we've got here for a little bit of garnish. Don't use the big ones, just a little tiny burst. Here and there is nice. So good to be back in the kitchen. This is the first time I've actually been in the restaurant, since the lockdown. So, I'm looking forward to many more like this once we start our delivery service. Still got a little touch of garlic on there, but we don't want too much, just a little bit. And then I'm a Parmesan fan. I'm a Parmesan fiend, to be honest. So there we go. So there's a nice, quick and easy from scratch dinner for 2.
Awesome, that looks absolutely delicious. I will say, can you just tell us again what you're doing to help out the people in Manchester?
Yeah, well, after doing it, it's funny, it came from the videos. Mac sauce chicken wings led to goose egg carbonara, which led to steak and onions in a massive Yorkshire pudding. But there's only so much of that kind of food that people want, and people want Wood Manchester food. It's as simple as that. And I've been inundated with requests for recipes. I'm going to try and make your pork belly at home. Can we get tomahawks? You know, where can I get them from? How do I cook it? Like we've talked about today. And we're going to launch an at-home delivery service. Now, myself and my son, we're going to be in the kitchen, and we're going to produce a 90% complete dish. So all the hard work, garnish, you know, precision chopping, sauces, purees, seasoning, everything like that will be done for you. I've got pork belly, you know, in there today that won't be ready for another 3 days because of the process that we have to go through to get it into its state. But what you'll get is a recipe, how-to guide, a little plate, how the dish should look, and you'll have all the individual elements of the dish in pots, and you can still get that downtime that we touched on earlier, where you can relax and enjoy yourself, but you can also get a high-end meal that you put together. A couple of things I'm going to do is everyone that buys enjoy a cocktail on us card, that's going to go in there, so that when we're open and running socially distanced or otherwise, you can come in and have a free drink on me for supporting us when we need it most. But once a week, if people do the hashtag #RateMyWoodPlate and send it to me, someone's going to win a main course, whether it be the one that they had, or they can come in, and when we're open they can come in and have, whether it's a bite to lunch or a bite of lunch or whatever it may be, you know, that's on me because they win the competition that week. So we're trying to keep people entertained. We're not trying to take away the liberty and their enjoyment of cooking, but we're trying to provide something that people can't get, and most importantly, you know, we're trying to survive as a business, which is something that's essential.
Now, how would you recommend people who are watching right now on United We Stream how with this with the nightlife of Manchester?
Just visit the website. We'll be delivering. It's a treat dish, you know, treat menu. So we'll be delivering food on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. You can order any day in the week. You'll be allocated a delivery slot. We've got 3 starters, 5 mains, 2 desserts on there that you can, including this one that you can see right there. This lovely steak is going to be on there as well. Just order, you know, we'll deliver it to your doorstep. You don't have to leave the house. You know, in time we might look at a collection service, but for the time being, you know, we asked people did they want it, and they all said yeah. We got 1,500 responses to a survey that all want this delivery service. So if they all order, and you know, it's something that you're very humbled by it. When so many people ask, well, what can they do to help? We've had customers booking tables for next year, booking a private dining room just to generate revenue through the business. We had a mystery donor sent us £1,000 to just give to key workers and NHS staff who have been working on the front line at COVID to say thank you. You know, they don't want to be named, but they give us £1,000 to say feed as many nurses as you can with that, as a way of saying thank you. So that's part of the spirit. But going back to the delivery, it's I need to be in the kitchen 100%, and people need to be fed. There is, at the end of the day, I never thought I'd say it, only so much fried chicken someone can eat. So, well, we're offering some nice different dishes and things that people will enjoy.
And obviously, one of the big things is telling people to donate to United We Stream as well. Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's why we're here, isn't it? You know, I'm very grateful to United We Stream, and it's important that, you know, people just donate, whether it's £1 or £5 or a tenner or, you know, whatever it may be. Every little helps, doesn't it? So, you know, everyone needs to just get online, guys, and give a little to a great cause together. You know, if everyone does a little, no one has to do a lot, and we can make people's lives a lot easier.
All right, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Can't wait to get tucked into the food now.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.